and welcome back to my channel. If you're new around here, which you probably are, my name is Christina and this is Lily and the Lamb. So today's video is going to be a little bit different than the last video. If you saw the first video on this channel, you'll know that it was a vlog and it was all about showcasing the beauty of our wonderful Catholic Church. Spending my birthday going from place to place with a really good friend of mine, Sister Judith. I had a really beautiful time, and when I first created this channel, that's really what I envisioned this channel to kind of be about. I didn't really think that I wanted to sit and talk to the camera, really talk to you guys as such, at least not a majority of the time. I really wanted to focus on just showcasing the beauty of the church, going to all of these beautiful places and sharing my experience with you, mostly from behind the camera. So I struggle with this, so bear with me, but we're gonna get through it. Today what I want to talk to you guys about is what do we as Catholic laity do in the current situation that we're in. So as you're probably aware, if you live in the United States, there is currently a national emergency in place. It is very likely that your state might be also under a state of emergency. It is very likely that right now you're experiencing school closures, people are working from home, people are self-quarantining. All of these preventative measures are being taken. It's also very likely that if you live in a large archdiocese like New York, like Washington, D.C., like many others, that masses have been canceled, that public gatherings are being limited, all to try to stem the spread of this coronavirus. And it's also Lent. So for those of us Christians that celebrate Lent, that participate in Lent, this is also coming, I think, at a really interesting time for us in our faith. Spiritually speaking, there's a lot of speculation about the virus. Is it the devil? Is it demonic? Is it a chastisement from God? Are people being punished? There's all of these kind of questions. Is it just pure chance? And I don't know. I'm a laywoman. I am not a priest. I am not a theologian. I really can't answer that question for you. I have my thoughts and opinions on that topic, but for the purpose of this video, I'm not going to get into my opinions on that. What I will do is link below. I will link some videos from some people who know a lot more than I do, some priests and some other people that have spoken about this topic a little bit, and you know, you can take a look at those and see what you think. But what do we do in particular in terms of our response to this? And I want to go over 7 steps, I guess, that you could take, 7 things that you could keep in mind as we go through the next few weeks of Lent and also of this coronavirus kind of shutdown that we're experiencing. I do have wine for this. Like I said, I didn't want to make this video, so I need some help. Okay, your girl needs some help. And like I said, I'm just going to share some of my thoughts and some of my resources with you. Hopefully this will help you as you're going through all of this madness that's going on out in the world today. So the first thing, and this is the most obvious, you've probably heard this 1,000 times, your pastor has probably said this, you've probably seen every Catholic YouTuber saying this, but be not afraid. Okay, the most repeated phrase in all of Scripture, be not afraid. It bears repeating. I'll say it again. Be not afraid. You're not alone. You're not abandoned. Okay, Christ has not left you. And I know that for us as Catholics, especially with masses being shut down, with access to the sacraments being more limited, it definitely feels scary. It definitely feels lonely, right? And it kind of goes against our human nature that, you know, when things go wrong, when there's panic, when there's all of this stuff, we want to be together, we want to cluster together, and we're being told, you know, to stay away from each other, and that kind of goes against everything human in a sense. Obviously there's a lot of people to be concerned about as well, but really think about fear and not being afraid. Think about whether your reactions are coming from that place. Really pray about it, and you know, and remember that you're not alone. We're all going through this. The church is going through this together, and the church is going to be just fine. Okay, the gates of hell shall not prevail. It's going to be okay. So that's number one. Don't be afraid and don't panic. Okay. All right. Second, I think it's important that we treat this as a penitential time, both as a church and individually. As a church, obviously, there's a lot of things that have gone on. There's a lot of scandals. We've had innocent people being accused and condemned. We've had guilty people getting let off the hook. We have had a lot happen that as a church, on some level, I think that, you know, as a church we have to answer for to God. And individually as well. This is, you know, it's Lent. It's a time to be reflecting penitentially, doing, you know, all kinds of penances, mortifications, and all of that stuff. But to treat this as, you know, maybe another Lenten sacrifice in a sense. I know for me it feels that way. I am somebody that goes to daily Mass as often as possible, almost every day. You know, I'm used to receiving the Eucharist every day, as my pastor joked the other day. You know, some of us in the church are Eucharist dependent. You know, it's actually really difficult. It's, you know, it's a sacrifice to know that that isn't going to be available for a while, and you know, to really think about whether that's something that we've been taking for granted. As I made the last video showcasing the beauty of the church, and it was all about this via pulchritudinis, the beautiful way, you know, and this beautiful evangelization tool that we have as Catholics of our beauty and our heritage and our culture. I can't help but go back and reflect and think about that, and think about how much of that it's easy to take for granted. You know, that I can just walk into a magnificent place like the Basilica or the Franciscan Monastery here in DC, and that's just always going to be there. It's not. And you know, and that's the reality that many Catholics and Christians have faced around the world. And you know, you never think it's going to happen to you. You never think it's going to come here, especially in the United States, especially in, you know, major areas of the United States. But anything is possible. So treat it as a penance, as a penitential time. And I'm going to talk about a few ways to kind of do that, at least that have helped me to kind of do that over the last couple of days as I've tried to absorb everything that's been going on. So the third thing is to continue your Lenten fast and mortifications, and also to offer up your passive mortifications. So those things that you didn't choose for yourself, like giving up chocolate or coffee or whatever you gave up, obviously continue doing that, but also the passive mortifications, the inconveniences, the long waits in line, things being sold out, all of these kind of things that you're going to suffer through in the coming weeks as laity, taking care of your families, taking care of yourself. You know, also offer those up as passive mortifications. Again, I'm going to link a video. Father Mike Schmitz actually did a really good video on just this topic alone where he goes into that. So I'm going to link that below as well for you guys to check out and really edify yourselves. And that kind of goes into the fourth thing, which is pray. Now, you probably hate hearing this. If you have a spiritual director and you have gone to him or her to whine about your problems, you have probably been told to pray. And you probably walked out like, I know, Father, I know I'm supposed to pray, but what else? Right? We always want what else? Like, what else can I actually do? Because sometimes I guess prayer doesn't always feel so tangible, right? Like we want to feel like we have some control and like we're gonna do something. You're not gonna do anything, okay? I mean, you can do a few things. I'm exaggerating, but really pray and work on, you know, take this time. If you're somebody that is at home, if you're somebody that is, you know, having to work from home or that's having to stay home because your job is shut down, take this time to really try to advance in your prayer life, in your spiritual life. St. Teresa of Avila has 9 levels of prayer that she talks about. Definitely read that. You know, I would read some of the doctors of the church, read some of the church fathers, read some spiritual literature, okay? As my pastor recently exclaimed in a recent homily, he said, get some theology. So get some theology, okay? It's good advice. Try to advance in your prayer life. We're kind of going into this desert, walking through the desert with Jesus right now. And I know for me, before Lent, which is my favorite season of the year incidentally, before Lent happened, I was really going through a real dark night of the soul and really going through a period of spiritual dryness. And it can be really difficult. Something that I talked about in confession and was able to kind of get some guidance on some things I was struggling with as a result of it. And definitely, you know, temptation is going to be a big part of that, huge part of that, just like it was for Jesus in the desert. But pray. And again, I know that that can be such a cliche or obvious or annoying thing that, you know, we constantly are being told, pray, 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 pray. But seriously, just do it. If you don't know where to start, or you don't really know how to pray, or you don't feel comfortable just talking to God, like, I get that. I totally get that. Of course, during this whole crisis, I know a lot of churches are staying open, at least for now, to make prayer available to people. So just for private prayer, if you're here in DC, the Basilica is open from 9 to 5 for that reason, although they're not providing anything else. If you can get into a church and that helps you, go pray in the church. If you're comfortable praying at home, pray at home. I'm not going to tell you where to pray. If you don't, if you find that you need to focus a little bit, or that you have a hard time kind of praying at home and maybe you can't get to the church, I definitely suggest getting some icons. So behind me, this is my like little prayer altar. I don't always pray here, but it's a really nice focal point and option to have just to keep my mind focused. I kind of have it laid out a little bit like an altar, but there are prayer books and cards and everything like that. So definitely utilize that stuff. So I've got like a couple of prayer cards here on the altar right back here. This is a guardian angel one, and this one is a prayer for priests. I also have some other stuff on here that we'll talk about later. Also think about getting prayer books if you need some help kind of like getting going and, you know, you're like, what do I say? You know, I don't really know, you know, what to do. Get some prayer books, read the prayer books, read the prayers. You can read them out loud. You can read them in your mind. So you can also get like these smaller kind of devotional books. So this is the Complete Rosary prayer book. I also have the Devotion to the Sorrowful Mother here. Whichever ones you want, there's 1.5 million of these. If you don't have any and you're able to get some, maybe off of Amazon, or if there is a religious bookstore that is still open near you, definitely grab one. And your priest or other people at your parish, friends of yours, family members, they might have stuff that they're willing to share with you as well. But definitely utilize stuff like that. And there's also a wealth of information on the internet. So if you don't have like physical books, or you're not really a physical books kind of person, you can look up all kinds of prayers on the internet and kind of get started that way and really start building up into a place where you're comfortable praying verbally, praying mentally, meditating. There's also kind of some more advanced prayer books. So if you are a little bit further along and you're more comfortable with maybe some more advanced types of prayers, if you're comfortable with Latin, or, you know, if you have particular needs, I definitely recommend something like this. This is the Deliverance Prayers book published by Sensus Traditionis. I believe Father Chad Ripperger put this together. So this is really, really useful if you are up to it. There's also the Auxilium Christianorum that you can join. Stuff like that. I'm not going to get into detail about all of that kind of stuff. That I will link resources below if you're curious about any of that kind of stuff. But use prayer books, get some sacramentals, like I said, get some icons. Even if you just have like a little corner with like an icon and a little candle or something, that'll really help you to focus your mind and your heart towards God. So really work on advancing in your prayer life. Take this extra time to really do that. It's going to be really, really important down the line. And this obviously goes without saying. Pray the rosary every day, however many times. You can never pray the rosary too much. If you're really comfortable with the rosary, you might consider getting a 7 Sorrows rosary and starting that devotion as well. I really, really love that devotion. So think about that. But whatever you're comfortable with, pray. That's all I can tell you. Okay, your spiritual director is right. I know it's frustrating when you want more than that, but seriously, sometimes that's it. So pray. Number 5, listen. Okay, so for all the time that you spend praying, you should probably spend just as much time. You should probably spend twice as much time listening. Cultivate the virtue of silence. And then listen. And seriously, that's it. Just listen to what the Lord is telling you. But spend time listening. Don't just spend time talking. It's a conversation. Number 6, understand spiritual warfare. Okay. This is the part where some people think that, you know, people that are watching this that are not Catholic, that are not Christian, this is the part where they start to think that we're crazy, right? We are not crazy. Okay, the church is not crazy. Christians are not crazy when it comes to this stuff. Understand spiritual warfare. I am so not playing around with this right now. I am so serious. I did not want to be sitting here in this chair talking to you about spiritual warfare, okay? Seriously, understand it, learn about it, prepare yourself, okay? It's not going to skip over you just because you don't know about it and you don't know what's going on. It's real. The demonic is real. The devil is real. Hell is real. It's real. Learn about spiritual warfare. I cannot stress this enough, okay? Some of these books that I've shown you are very, very useful, particularly for spiritual warfare if you are already there. There's also a couple of other ones. Try to link a couple of other resources below as well. I'm going to link resources to what helps me, where I've learned from, where you can learn from. This is a really good time to learn. This is a really good time to be in the classroom, so to speak. And on this channel, I'll be doing more videos in more detail about some of these topics as well. Again, I'm by no means an expert. If you ever have questions or doubts or whatever about anything, take them to your spiritual director, take them to your priest, whatever the case may be. I'm not speaking definitively as a lay person. I understand my role in that, but from layperson to layperson, maybe you're not a layperson, but if you are, I'm just sharing what I know and what I've been taught with you. So definitely check out these resources and learn about spiritual warfare, because you will be fighting it. If you're kind of like a lukewarm, like I go on Sundays, I get my wafer, you know, and then I kind of go and I brunch and I chill out, or I go to like the whatever group once a week, it's not going to be good enough anymore. Okay, it's not going to be good enough. And just because you don't know about it doesn't mean it doesn't know about you. Okay, so learn this stuff. Seriously, the information is out there. It's been out there. The church has so much to teach us. So listen, learn, understand spiritual warfare, and whatever you do, if there's one thing that you take away from this video, if there's one takeaway that you take from this entire video, let this be it, okay? Never, ever, 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 ever compromise your state of grace, especially now. And again, don't panic. This is not to incite fear. but be rational here. Okay, masses are closing. Public spaces are closing. Right now we can still go to churches to pray and have confessions and stuff like that. If that disappears, okay, and that's not available anymore, there's no such thing as confession over the phone or Skype or whatever, that's not a thing. So if that does disappear for whatever reason where you live and you are not able to have access to a priest or to any of the sacraments, you do not want to be on the wrong side of confession if that happens. If you know that you need to be in confession, if you know you have something mortal on your soul, go. Turn this video off and go to confession right now if you can. Obviously, if it's 3 in the morning, you can't, but then go as soon as you can. Seriously, go to confession. I don't care how awkward it is. I don't care what you did. I don't care if you don't want your priest to know about it because you're worried about what he thinks of you. I don't care about any of that. It does not matter, okay? Go to confession if you need to get yourself right with the Lord. You do not want to be on the wrong end of needing confession and not being able to get it, and not knowing when you'll be able to get it, and not know, you know, frankly, if you're going to get sick or what else is going to happen, okay? Get your butt into the confessional. And it's probably a good idea for everybody to go anyway, just in case, okay? I feel like you can never be too safe. After you do, if you're not already in a state of grace, do not compromise your state of grace. Do not lose your state of grace. That is your principal protection in spiritual warfare, is your state of grace. That is your connection to God. Do not lose it. Do not commit mortal sin for any reason. Okay, seriously, right now, this is the time to buckle down and buckle up and really get with it. Okay? If you're going and you're committing mortal sin and you're like, well, I have confession available. Look, I am guilty. I have been there. I have done that many times. Because it's there, you know, I have the Basilica. We have 6 hours of confession every day. It's not going to be good enough anymore. Again, get your butt to confession. Get clean, get right with God, and then hold on to that state of grace, okay? If you take one thing from this video, let that be it. Do not compromise your state of grace for any reason. Sorry, we need a wine break. Okay, so now that I'm done yelling at you, seriously, and I mean this in all charity, you guys, seriously, like, this is what we got to do as laity. But the last thing that I want to talk about is take action, okay? Take action. Jesus wants us to be involved in our own salvation, okay, and involved in our own miracles that happen in our lives. Think about the wedding at Cana, right? He could have just been like, wine, and then there's wine. He didn't. He had the servants bring the jugs, fill the jugs all the way to the brim, giving everything that they could all the way to the brim, and bring them to him, okay, which was not an easy task. And then he turned that into wine. So there's a participation, right, that happens on our end, and that's really important, especially in these sort of times of distress. We know that faith without works is dead. Okay, so let's go back to when we were talking about praying, and it's like, you know, and your spiritual director tells you, oh, well, you know, and you're like, and this happened and that happened and blah, 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 and, you know, inevitably he or she tells you to pray, right? And you're like, what else can I want to do something. I want other stuff. Look, take action. participate in those prayers. We know that faith without works is dead. And we know that we need to take action with ourselves. We need to die to ourselves. We need to loose ourselves from attachments to worldly things that we are attached to, okay? Whether it's stuff, whether it's, you know, this is what Lent is about, right? You're giving up something that you're attached to. You know, whether it's a food item or another vice or another habit or whatever the case may be. We're loosing those attachments so that we can be closer to God and more focused on God. So take that action. Other actions you can take, making use of the sacramentals that are available to us, okay? Get some sacramentals. If you don't have sacramentals, you should get some sacramentals. Again, this is probably stuff that's not going to be sold out on Amazon, like hand sanitizer right now. I promise you it will be infinitely more helpful to you than stockpiling bottles of Purell, okay? Get some sacramentals. Behind me, you can see a few of mine. Everything on this altar has been blessed, and some of these items have been blessed and exorcised. If you can find a priest who will do the blessing and exorcising of certain things, do that. And just a few things to consider getting your hands on if you can, or bringing to your priest to bless and exorcise for you. Some salt, I'm running low on mine, but blessed and exorcised salt. Obviously, holy water is in short supply in churches these days. Obviously, there's no holy water fonts. If there is still a dispenser in your church, get some holy water. If you can have a priest make some holy water for you, do so. Get some holy water in your house. Blessed and exorcised oil. I have some in this little, actually, holy water bottle, but I put the oil in here because I have a larger bottle. It's kind of a pain to like use it from the big bottle. So get some blessed and exorcised holy oils, just olive oil. Blessed candles, so you can see the candles that are behind me. These are also blessed. The statues, all of that kind of stuff. The Benedict medal that's above me. And there's other stuff. We'll do a video on sacramentals. That's a whole other video, okay? Obviously, there's the ones that you can wear. You know, your Benedict medals, your saint medals. I have my patron saint, and I also have Saint Michael the Archangel on here. So whatever works for you, right? Whatever your particular thing is, get some sacramentals and get them blessed and exorcised and all of that good stuff. Make use of them. Now, do not be superstitious with the sacramentals. Then they won't work. They'll actually, you probably end up shooting yourself in the foot if you do that. So don't be superstitious, okay? Always using them in faith, you know, that God will act through that item, through the prayers attached to it for you, to help you and to protect you and all of that kind of stuff. And also making use of the sacraments, again, while you still have them, while you still have confession, go to confession. Now look, it might not get that bad. We might not be locked down the way they are in Italy right now, but we might. And again, don't chance it. Get to confession, make use of the sacraments. We have a really rich, beautiful sacramental life in the church, okay? Also, be involved in your community, in your church community, in your parish community. What is your priest doing, okay? If you've been blessed with a good and faithful and holy priest, thank God for that, okay? There's a lot of people out there who don't have any priests, and there's a lot of people out there who have priests that probably should not be priests. So whatever the case may be though, whoever your priest is, whoever your pastor is, wherever you go to church, at this point, he ought to be making acts of reparation and penance and protection for his church, for the church, for his flock, for, you know, this whole situation. You know, your priest should probably be doing a Eucharistic procession at some point around your church. He should probably be holding adoration and confession and stuff like that as much as he can. He should probably be providing other resources to pastorally care for the needs of his flock. If your priest is not doing these things, you need to say something to him, and you need to, you know, respectfully, okay, respect the office. I don't care if he's good or bad or whatever, respect the office he's been given, okay, respect the holy orders. But if he isn't doing that, that's his job, then he needs to be, and you need to say something. And look, again, I don't care if it's awkward, okay? I don't care if it's weird. I don't care if you feel uncomfortable, you know, or you don't want him to not like you, or what is he gonna think about me? I don't care if it's like already awkward. I don't care if you have a priest who already doesn't like you, okay? Or already thinks you're a pain in the butt. Too bad, okay? Say something if nothing is happening. We'll have a whole other video about priests in general, about the priesthood. But what is your pastor doing? And is he doing enough? Is he doing what he ought to be doing? And this goes for bishops as well. Look, if there's something messed up going on in your archdiocese and you need to write to the archbishop or the bishop that's in charge, if there's something, you know, if there's some liturgical abuse going on in your church or somewhere that you know about, and you need to say something, then you need to say something, like now, okay? This is a great time. I'm sure you have plenty of extra time on your hands. Okay, so those are my 7 kind of things to keep in mind, things to kind of, you know, how to react as lay people. A few practical considerations. I'm just going to throw this out there, just kind of here at the end of the video. Be informed. You know, again, I'm going to link some videos down below that kind of go into just the meat and potatoes of the issue. You know, a lot of us are really frustrated with how partisan and politic this has gotten. I'm just going to put down a couple of resources that I found helpful down here in the description bar. Again, prepare yourself, and if you're able, if you're healthy, if you're young, if you're low risk, help other people who aren't, okay? The elderly, the infirm, the disabled, people that don't have a car, if you live somewhere where a car is really necessary, you know, single moms, they got a lot of kids, child care, your neighborhood, your community. Check on people and take care of each other, okay? Don't just like buy a bunch of stuff and hoard it in your house and then isolate yourself and then just like, you know, not care about everybody else. Okay, that's not what we're called to. So if there are people in your parish, in your neighborhood, in your community that you know need some help and you're able to help them, maybe there's a 90-year-old woman who lives next to you who can't go stand in line trying to buy toilet paper for 3 hours. Maybe she needs some. So do what you can to help those that need the help, and be informed, stay safe, stay prepared, go to confession, don't lose your state of grace. We're gonna get through this. So I hope this was helpful. I love you all so much, and we'll see you very soon. God bless.